Hi everyone, it is Money Monday. This is Financial Sharktress Galit Sadiq, and I am here with our special guest for this week, Jeri Ann Cook. She is the owner of Sunstone Bookkeeping, and she specializes in pet businesses. And we actually met through Dana Humphreys, who thought that we should connect and thought she would be a perfect guest for Money Monday. So today we're going to talk about the different things that you need to think about when starting a new business. So the first thing, Jeri, I want you to say hello to the audience, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about how you started Sunstone Bookkeeping.
Sure. Hello, I'm Jeri Ann Cook. I'm the owner and founder of Sunstone Bookkeeping. We're out of Stratford, Connecticut, but thanks to the wonderful cloud, which everybody has gotten to know over the last few months, we actually serve clients around the country. A little bit about me. I also grew up all over the country. My father was in the Navy, but I ended up settling in New Orleans for a while to go to Tulane University for my undergraduate as well as for my master's in business administration. Met my then boyfriend, now husband, and moved up to New York where I started working in advertising analysis and educational research. Then I got tired of an hour and a half commute from Connecticut to Columbus Circle. And anybody who knows New York knows that's not an easy commute. You've got three different, I had to change three times. I'm like, this is not. So ended up having our first daughter, or having their daughter, and deciding we were going to raise her here in Stratford. And then life threw us a curveball, and we moved to Europe.
Wow.
First we moved to Bulgaria. Nobody has ever. I'm sure I'm one of the few people I personally know who's ever moved to Bulgaria. And then we ended up moving to London for a while. And while I was in both countries, I did a lot of volunteer work and was honored to serve on the boards of things like the International Women's Club chapter in Sofia, as well as Woodcraft Folk, which is kind of like a co-ed scouting group in England. And the one thing I learned is that not just through those organizations, but also living overseas, money is very difficult and you have to be on top of it. So I did a lot of learning and I did a lot of work, and I discovered I'm not afraid of money, but everybody else seemed to be very, very afraid of it. They were worried they'd do something wrong, they wouldn't know what they were doing, and they didn't feel right about it. When I took the treasurer's job at Woodcraft Folk, everybody applauded because nobody else wanted the job. They were like, oh my God, somebody wanted to do this, okay.
Wow.
Exactly. And I really enjoyed it. I really took to it. And I was always the point person to do our taxes internationally. And if there's anybody out there listening, you know the complications when you're an American living overseas and doing taxes. So when we decided we were moving back to the States, I decided I need to put these skills to use. And I opened up Sunstone Bookkeeping here and started getting clients and helping them run their businesses from the financial perspective. I've got pet retailers, I've got nonprofits. Basically, I work with other clients outside of the pet business, but most of them to be in that arena. And it's kind of nice to have a community of clients that I can refer to each other as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and since we're talking about people being afraid of money and, pet businesses in particular, let's say someone is thinking about starting a pet business or thinking about working with you, like what are the things you hear most?
I don't have time for this. Usually it's here. I don't have time for this.
What do you feel like people don't really consider when they're gung-ho about starting their business?
Well, it's very difficult. Like I said, money is not something people like to talk about. They're scared of it. They think they're supposed to be ashamed they want it, but they need it. And it's a very fraught relationship that we have. But when you start a business, you're doing it because you want to do something you love to earn a living.
Right.
So that's got to start at the very beginning, as Rogers and Hammerstein would say. You need to start in the beginning and get the foundation started immediately. But most people don't necessarily understand that it needs to happen from the very beginning. Like the first thing that I recommend to people when once they know what they want to do, they've done the research, is open a dedicated account. It's the little things.
Yep.
I've spoken with people who want to own dog walking. They own a little dog walking business, but they're doing everything out of their personal PayPal. I'm like, no, open a new PayPal. It's not hard.
Yeah.
You need to do that for two reasons. Number one, baby accountants in their very first day of school are taught about something called the economic entity assumption. I know that's accounting lingo, but I can explain it. What it means is every business is separate from everything else. You have to kind of hold it in its own little world. So like, even if you have, let's say you own 4 different businesses, they all have to be treated individually. You
Yep.
can't do what's called commingling between them, without a lot of records and a lot of, making sure that everything is perfect in terms of explaining it in case there's ever a question from the guys down in DC.
Yeah. And even more so, you create an entity, you create a business structure to make sure that you cannot be held personally liable for anything that goes wrong in the business. And one of the ways and it creates what's called a corporate veil, right? And so one of the ways you can pierce the corporate veil is to commingle money. And if someone can prove that you and your business are one and the same financially, then they can go after you personally if something happens.
They could, and it's not a hard thing to do. There are banks everywhere. They're all over the place. And it's usually not very hard to open a business account if you have the cash. Some people like to go to the same bank where they already have a personal account and open it there so that they could easily move money back and forth, recording it the right way every time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes some people want to keep it completely separate. Either is fine. Things to look for would be low to zero fees. That's not hard to find anymore. Everybody heard of this COVID thing we've had that's caused some financial pressures on businesses?
Yes.
And one of the huge headlines that was out there when the Paycheck Protection came out was that there were banks that were only accepting loan applications from their own clients.
Yep.
And they had to be business accounts. Now, some of them were not being very nice about it, and they were being really restrictive about it, but they had to because they were inundated. So having a banking relationship already with your business will put you in a better position when you need lending. I mean, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, well, we already know they keep a balance of this much, and we can see how much cash goes in and comes out. Things you also might want to do is, see if in the future you can get a business credit card instead of using the debit card. Again, linked to that bank. Lines of credit if you're going to go for that, if you feel you need that safety cushion later.
Yeah. You've got inventory that you need to buy in advance. A line of credit can be a lifesaver.
And heaven forbid you don't have payroll. I mean, you've got to have that cushion available. There are other options for it, but when you're opening that first bank account, those are the kind of things you want to look for. You can go with a big bank, you can go with a neighborhood bank, whichever one you feel comfortable working with in terms of their terms, their minimum balances, number of transactions, things like that. So that's actually the first thing I recommend. And it also puts you in that frame of mind of, I own a business.
Yeah.
I have, this is its own thing that I'm nurturing and I'm taking care of. Separate from your own personal account where you pay the mortgage and the rent and the food bills and the cat food and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think something that I've had and I've seen over and over with my clients is this idea that you and the business are one and the same. Like, oh, it's my baby. It's my this. It's me. I am the business. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are not the business. It's its own thing, and it needs to exist even if you don't.
I know, and we keep getting all these messages from branding people saying, oh, but you are the brand and you are the business. It's like, not with this.
Right, exactly. You can be the brand. You can be the business. I mean, I'm the face, right? But it has to be able, I have to be able to go on vacation and it to like live without me and still be profitable. Or you need to be able to have it exist as its own thing. It can't be everything for you.
And that little mental step of that physical and mental step of opening that separate account is what makes it real for a lot of people. It's like, oh, this is a business now.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. And then the second thing I always say is, and this is going to sound silly, get a shoebox. Put every piece of paper when you first start out in the shoebox. I'm going to age myself. I'm going to reveal my age right now.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I used to watch the Carol Burnett show on television. It was delightful. Sitcom, situation comedy at its finest. Or skit comedy at its finest. Sorry, skit comedy. And one of my favorite little vignettes they would have is when Harvey Korman would be the husband and he'd have all these papers on a table getting ready for tax time. And his wife, who was played by Carol Burnett, and her sister, who was Vicki Lawrence, they'd come in, they'd start taking pictures, they'd start chewing on potato chips. She would be on the phone rattling off numbers, and he'd be writing down the numbers she's saying. And it was hilarious. But the big thing that I always remembered was all the papers. You weren't allowed to touch all the papers. And it's funny, because it's true. Bookkeepers and accountants in particular love paperwork. We really do.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I hate the paper. I deal with the paper because I have to, but I have like found a way to get everything electronic. Like I don't want to deal in shoe boxes anymore.
I don't like to deal with shoe boxes either. I'm not saying everything has to live in the shoe box the whole year, but for the first week, you put everything in the shoebox.
Yeah.
And then once a week, you scan it, you record what it is, when it happened, who you spent the money, who you gave the money to, or who gave you the money, who was an invoice, what it was for, the exact amount, do not round, exact amount. And then you can file it or you can scan it. I have a Dropbox account and every client gets access to 3 folders, to be processed, in the accounting software, and reports. They upload it to me, I scan it in, put it in, or they scan it in, I put it into the system, I move it to in the accounting software folder, and they know it's done.
Yeah, that's great.
Do this on a weekly basis, and it's going to sound like a lot. It's not a lot if you start when you have only a few things.
Right.
It's really not. And I know it sounds silly that I'm saying we love paper. We love paper because it gives us the information we need.
Exactly.
Because if you are ever, and I do not wish this upon anybody, ever audited, you have to be able to defend every single deduction you make.
Yep.
And important note, your credit card statement is not a receipt.
Yes.
And your bank account statement is not a receipt. Those are proof that you have a relationship with a bank. They are not proof that you spent money with a vendor or that you received money from a customer.
Yeah.
Electronic is fine. You can hold everything electronically. That's okay. But you have to keep the individual transaction receipts. That's why I say just get a shoebox.
Yeah. And I've even gone a step further with some of my clients that are not good at keeping things in a shoebox or in one place. Things, if you wait that week or wait longer than that week, your receipts will start to fade, and then I'll get like faded receipts. So what I've actually done with a lot of my clients is there's an app called Genius Scan. As soon as you buy that item, take your receipt, snap a picture in Genius Scan, and email it to me. Or snap a picture, add it to Dropbox, or even just, on your regular. I used to have shared iCloud albums with clients of just like, just throw all of your receipts in there, write on it what it's for, throw it in but as long as I can see it, I don't want the piece of paper. I don't want you to have to hold on to the piece of paper, but we need a record of it electronically.
I fully agree. I actually have converted, I jokingly say that, I have converted one of my clients solely to this. And she literally just takes a picture, upload to Dropbox. Takes a picture, upload to Dropbox.
So easy.
It's perfect because I get it immediately. I get it. And then a lot of times, though, you can also request that everything be emailed. I don't know, Staples and Best Buy in particular, you can just have it emailed straight to you. And then you forward it to your, you can save it as a PDF into your storage folder, or you can forward it to your bookkeeper or your financial consultant, whoever you're working with. It's much easier, and then nobody ever has paper.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. If it's possible to email me a receipt, like if I see that option, I'm always emailing it. I don't want to take anything with me.
Exactly, because if that's your only record, you might lose it between here and there, and you don't ever want that option. It doesn't happen very often, but it's going to seem a little weird when you start doing that at first, because it's not part of your routine. And I get that. Yeah. And I had a client who said, I'm never going to remember to take pictures. I'm never going to remember this. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Hey, how's your granddaughter doing? Oh, she's great. Look at my... Oh.
Yeah, so you do take pictures.
You do take pictures.
Oh, that's pretty funny. It's funny because I think I would go the other direction of like, okay, so what can you do? Mm-hmm. And I usually try to work with my clients and like try to go to what's the bare minimum that we can work out here. And I actually had a client that just refused to take pictures, had the shoebox. And so we used this service called Shoeboxed, where you can send all of your shoe boxes of receipts and someone else will take them out and scan them and enter in the data. And we could just push it straight to your QuickBooks, or we could get like a little whatever.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Not one solution is going to fit for everybody. But as long as you can get the bottom line done, proverbially speaking, of getting information, there you go. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. I jokingly say the shoebox because everyone's going to have a box. And you're going to have a bunch of papers, and you're going to be really busy. All you have to do is remember, stick it in the box. Eventually, you're going to start putting this into your accounting software yourself. You're going to start scanning it yourself. But it's the habit of, I need to save all of this. I need to have all of this available. And then starting to do it a little bit at a time weekly means you're never going to have to take a day off and do it. Now, are there going to be days when you have more than usual? Yes. But you're going to get into the habit of it, and that's what bookkeeping is. It is enforced. It's creating new financial organization habits for yourself so that you can have this data to use it for what you need.
Yeah. And then from a financial standpoint and from starting a business standpoint, how do you feel about bookkeeping software right off the bat? Because that's usually something that I try to get people who are starting a business, think about, even if it's not paid bookkeeping software, but something free like Wave, like Wave apps is a free bookkeeping. I think if you only have 5 clients, FreshBooks is free. It's not going to be as robust. It's not going to be as amazing as something like a QuickBooks or a Xero or Sage, but it'll give you the foundation. It'll give you a little bit of a basis. And then you can, as you grow, you can work up from there. But I know that I've seen a lot of people just try to use spreadsheets. And unless you're working in spreadsheets every day. I mean, I work in spreadsheets. I'm sure you work in spreadsheets every single day. If you're not doing that, the chances that your spreadsheet is, you're going to remember to enter everything into that spreadsheet, or it's going to work out the way that you wanted to, it's slim to none.
It is slim to none. And when you start out, let's say you have a very, very basic business, you could probably get away with a spreadsheet with the right calculations and the right nuances for a few months. But if you start dealing with things like inventory or payroll, you need to have something, you need to have a double entry bookkeeping software of some sort, because it starts to get complicated. Tips, as an example, one of the very common things you see within pet businesses where it's service oriented, groomers, stylists, trainers, that kind of thing, they get tips.
Mm-hmm.
Your business receives the money for tips sometimes, if it's on a credit card or if it's part of a check. That's not your money. It's money going into your bank account, but it's not your money, and it was never your money. It's what we call a liability in accounting speak. Liability is money that you are holding on to for someone else. So it could be a loan is a liability, and tips are also a liability because that was never your money in the first place.
Exactly.
So spreadsheets, you have to create a different spreadsheet to account for the tips payable that you are going to owe to your employees, unless you pay them out the same day. But not everybody does that. A lot of times a lot of business owners prefer to wait till the end of the week to give their groomers their tips, which is perfectly fine. But you've got to account for that.
Yeah, you have to either be accounting for it in an accounting software, or have a some kind of business software that allows you to account for that. But either way, it's got to be, that's someone else's money. So you need to make sure that they get it. It's not yours.
Exactly. And then payroll, oh God.
Sales tax.
Sales tax is the same concept as tips. It's money you're collecting on behalf of another entity, which in this case is the sales tax, a municipality, state, county, town, depending on where you live. You have to hold on to that money on behalf of somebody else, so it's not yours.
Yeah, I've seen
that aside every time.
I think that's a big thing to think about as when you're starting a business, because you really do tend to think, oh, it's in my account, so it's mine, but that's not always the case. Even in the case of when you're writing out checks to people. So your accounting software will keep a record of that, and it'll tell you what actually is yours in your bank account. Whereas if you're just looking at your bank statement or your bank balance, you don't know if that check was cashed already. You don't know if some of that is sales tax money and now you're going to use it to pay for something else. And you're going to end up overdrawing your bank account.
Exactly. And you don't want to tell the state, I spent your money. Sorry, they're not very understanding about that, rightfully so. I mean, it's definitely like this. It's the kind of nuancing that spreadsheets just can't do very easily unless you buy a pre-programmed one. But even then, I still recommend double entry, any software that offers double entry bookkeeping, because everybody will have every single business owner will have the same first entry: cash and owner's equity. Cash is your asset. This is the amount of money that you put into your checking account. When you make that first deposit, that is your owner's equity right there. That is what we call double entry bookkeeping. You have to have your assets equal to your liabilities and your equity, because all of your assets, that's the things that your business owns: the cash, the credit, the cash, the stuff in your checking account, the petty cash, the cash in the drawer, all of your equipment, all of your inventory, all of those things. They come into your business in one of two ways. Either business borrowed it or the owner put it in. The business borrowing it would be the liability, the owner putting it in is the equity. So everybody's first entry is always assets and equity every time.
Yeah.
That's double entry bookkeeping right there. You don't just, cash does not come out of nowhere. It had to come from somewhere. It either came from a loan, which if you're opening up a bank account, your business doesn't have anything to borrow yet. So it's always it's always your own money. Your money is the owner putting it in. And everything from that just builds in double entry bookkeeping. So it's really good. Even if your business is simple, you should still get a wave, get FreshBooks, get something that gets you that kind of thing. Because once you start getting bigger and you start dealing with more complicated inventory and you start dealing with invoices where you're billing your clients and getting the money later, or what's called accounts payable, where you're taking something and you're paying them later. Yeah. You want to have the ability to build that up, and it's going to be much better if you have it in that double entry bookkeeping system from the start.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry for all the accounting lingo there, but it's important.
I mean, it is important, and for anyone that kind of zoned out during that, I mean, the way that I like to explain assets equal liabilities and owner's equity is just that if I were to take your company and sell it today, basically all of your liabilities would get paid off, and then whatever is left is your equity. Mm-hmm. That's what comes to you at the end. So maybe that cleared it up for you. For anyone who's watching, if it didn't, let me know in the comments, or let me know what you didn't understand, and we will definitely explain it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you want to start the business off right, understand your numbers, make sure that you're profitable from the start. Definitely a double entry bookkeeping system is the way to go. And I think that another thing that I think that's super important is to treat it like a business from the start that has to make money. Mm-hmm. Right? That profitability is something important in a business.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, why?
Right. Well, it could be something you're super passionate about, but if you're not going to make any money doing it, if you're not going to feel secure and stable, then you're going to get frustrated with it, and it's not sustainable.
I agree. But it does lead to another thing that I recommend is all business owners should get the very basic education on accounting. I'm not saying you have to go out and get your MACCT or an MBA or go take what we jokingly call the can't pass again test, CPA. But getting the basics on what is the accounting equation? What does a balance sheet actually include? What does an income statement actually include? Things like tips are not revenue. Just because it's money coming in the bank does not mean it's yours to play with. Same with sales tax. Learning if once you get employees, the proper way to account for payroll, because it's more complicated than, here's your net check and it comes out of my bank account. There's a little bit in the background because of all the withholdings and the benefits you might be paying. So getting that basic accounting information will help any business owner understand how the money flows in and flows out, hopefully more of the first. And knowing how to read an accounting reports. They should be looked at least monthly.
Yep.
That sounds like a lot, but it's still important to know how your business is doing. How, what does your business have right now? Who does your business owe to? How much profit did you make? Are you spending more than you did last month on office supplies, on payroll? Is overtime getting to be too much? I mean, all of these things. And this is whether you have a bookkeeper or not.
Yeah.
Because No
If
business
you
owner
don't,
should ever just give everything to the bookkeeper and only see them once a year. That is the
no,
wrong relationship. This is a very intimate relationship that you should have. I choose that word properly because this is the lifeblood of your business. This is the money. This is what's going. This is the medium that you are using to determine, am I successful? Do I grow? Do I need to lay somebody off? Can I afford a new location? Should I paint the place myself or can I hire a painter? I mean, all of these things come from understanding the money, and you need to have a very trusting relationship with the individual that you hire if you choose to hire somebody to do it. There are people who can do it themselves. I'm not saying it should or should not be done outside.
yeah,
But it depends on your budget and your comfort level.
yeah. And if you don't know what's going on in your books, then you are not making informed decisions with your business. You can't take advantage of opportunities that come your way.
Exactly.
You don't know if you should buy more of one item or another, which one is actually more profitable than the other for you. All of these things will have a huge effect on your business, and you need to deal in real-time data. You can't have it at the end of the year. At the end of the year is not going to help you when you need to make a decision today, or when I need to decide if I need a line of credit today or a loan today.
I had two clients who were able to fill out their PPP and their EIDLs, their EID grant and loan applications quickly because we worked together to get their books up to date and make sure everything was in on a regular basis. Because if you filled out I believe it was the PPP, it did not ask you what was your income in 2019. It asked you what was your income as of January 30th, 2020. Most people didn't have that because they only do their books once a year.
Yep.
But we had everything up to date, so they were able to boom, boom, boom. Both of them got their loans, no problem. And this is, nobody wants something like COVID-19 shutdowns to happen again. Nobody. I'm not even, nobody wants this. But heaven forbid we actually have it happen again and people need to go get loans. Having this information available to fill out an application immediately could be the difference in whether or not your business can last.
Yeah.
There are a lot of small businesses closing right now. And I'm not saying it's because they didn't have this information. There are probably a gajillion other reasons why. But you can control this. You can control whether or not your books are up to date. That's something you can do. That is something that business owners have in their ability to handle.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody here has seen the movie Auntie May, but knowledge is power.
It is. I mean, knowing your numbers is one of the biggest things I think that business owners kind of gloss over or forget or push to the side because they're thinking it's too complicated. I don't want to deal with it. I know what I know and I do it well and I'm just going to do this part of it. But a business is something that you need to know the numbers.
Absolutely.
You can't just, run it by the seat of your pants and expect to not have a difficult time.
Or at the you're going to have a difficult time because those NSF charges will add up. I mean, I've been fortunate not to have it happen, but I've seen results where just one check bounced and it affected 15 others.
Yep. Because that's what happens.
Yes, and you cannot not pay payroll. You are legally obligated to pay payroll.
Yeah, so and it can have a lot of other effects on people. I mean, I had one client that I worked for, and not that I worked with actually, not for a very long time because this happened, but basically the payroll was not being done properly, and garnishments were not being taken out, and or they were being taken out, but they were never sent over to where they needed to be sent. And like, somebody got arrested for not paying child support when they had been paying child support. Like, I was just like, oh my God, this can't happen. Like, who is doing this? No, payroll is sacred, right?
Payroll, absolutely sacred. And it's also a bit fraught, because one of the biggest business fraud embezzlements out there is payroll tax. Because if you're doing it in-house and somebody that you shouldn't be trusting is doing it, it's a very easy thing to just move out and store away.
Yeah.
And I hate this term with a purple passion, but one of the biggest pink collar crimes out there is bookkeeping embezzlement, because women, unfortunately, are trusted when they shouldn't be. And that's why they started calling it pink collar crime, because it was women perpetrating it. That's why internal controls are another thing that are very important. Ronald Reagan used an old Russian saying called trust but verify back in his days as president. It's absolutely true.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't want to think we shouldn't trust our employees. But you should trust your employees, but you should still put things into place to protect your business, because it's your business. Right. And there's something called the fraud triangle that was invented by a criminologist named Donald R. Cressy. And it was fascinating when I read about it. There are three aspects that are required to commit a crime successfully in the short term, because you get everybody gets caught. The first is the pressure. The second is the opportunity, and the third is the rationalization. So a person feels some sort of pressure in his or her life, sees an opportunity to commit a crime, can rationalize the crime, and then commits it. So one example that I give that I like to give is, my kid needs really expensive dental work. That's the pressure. The opportunity is, boss, just lets me take the cash to the bank and doesn't ask me to verify it. And the rationalization is, I haven't gotten a raise in a long time, and he's never going to use this money. You can only fix one of those. You can fix the opportunity. You can put something in place where your employees have to have two-party verifications for cash counts before deposits. It's very simple. One person counts it out in front of the other person. The second one, usually a supervisor, maybe the owner, checks it off and then puts it in a log. And so that you can count, this is how much is supposed to be here, according to the notebook, this is how much is actually here, same number, let's go to the bank and deposit this.
Yeah.
Never share logins. Ever.
No.
I am not kidding you. I was giving a presentation at a pet grooming expo in Pennsylvania, and I mentioned that as one of my tips. And it was a guy a person who works for one of the business management software. So they have, it's a point of sale system and a reservation system, and it's connected to the cash drawer. And he came up to me, he's like, I want to thank you for bringing that up, because I just had to deal with a client who knew that money was being taken out of the drawer, and she wanted me to find out who it was, and I couldn't because she gave the same login to 7 people.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to sound like, well, this sounds like I don't trust my employees. No, it means you've got systems in place, so if something goes wrong, it wasn't your employees that did it. Yeah. They have proof. I did it right, so it's got to be something else that caused the problem.
Exactly.
So it's good. It's good for everybody, and you want to protect your business.
Yeah, and this is also like one of the reasons why you should be involved as a business owner in your finances. Absolutely. Right? Because that's another verification. If you can read and understand your books, if you can understand where your money is going, your cash flow statement, your balance sheet, if you can read and look at all of those things and understand what's going on and understand how it matches to the money that's in your bank account or on your credit card statement, you're ahead of the game in catching anything that might happen. I mean, even to the other side, where I had a client that when we started together, I was going through the books, and she had a previous bookkeeper, and the books were supposedly reconciled and up to date. And I'm looking at it in comparison with her sales reports, and I'm like, where's this money?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I see this money ever hit your bank account? And she's like, I've been wondering, like, I'm making so much in sales, but there's no money coming into my bank account. And and it was something super simple. I ended up going through all of the different ways that she takes payments, and we found $10,000 sitting in Amazon Pay. Like, it was just so even to that extent of just understanding, like, hey, this is your books. This is what your sales reports are telling me, but this is what I'm seeing in the bank account. And if those things don't match, or this is what we're seeing on your profit and loss this month, but it doesn't match your sales report for the month, like, we need to understand why that's happening.
Yeah. So the previous bookkeeper didn't reconcile Amazon Pay.
No.
Oh, yeah, that is another thing that a lot of people, when they're doing their books, don't understand. Amazon Pay and PayPal and Stripe need to be reconciled just like they're a bank. And by the way, reconcile is just accounting speak for balance your checkbook, I promise. That's all it is.
It's literally just taking the statement and making sure that it matches what's in the software.
Exactly. And then if it says, we're sending this money to your bank, you can go check the bank and say, okay, yes, money got transferred from here to there, and they took this much out in a fee. But that is extremely important, because it is a way that your money comes in, and you need to account for it coming in. You need to account for any fees that they're charging you as an expense. And then then you need to treat that as technically a transfer to your checking account. Yep. It's not revenue twice. I've seen that happen.
Yes.
Where people had money coming into PayPal, and then when they moved the money over from PayPal, they counted it as sales again. I'm like, no.
Yeah, you don't want to get taxed twice on that money.
One sale. Just one, I promise. But what's also important is that you should not trust your bookkeeper too much either if you are if you're going to hire out. And I know it's weird given my profession, but I don't want that responsibility of having access to your money unless we have a contract that says I'm going to help you pay your bills. That's not something I want. That's not something my insurance carrier wants either. But all major banks can provide what's called read-only access for a secondary user. So I have the relationship I have with all of my clients is they provide me with read-only access to their bank. So I can see the transactions, but I can't do anything with them other than record them. And that way it gives them a level of protection that they deserve. Mm-hmm. But it lets me do my job without bugging them.
Exactly.
And you can do that with credit cards. You can do that with Stripe, PayPal, Shopify, major banks. Worst comes to worst, you can just send them statements, but it's easier to be able to do it on a daily basis or a weekly basis, just to have it feed through. And the software, artificial intelligence, is actually very good at predicting, the last 9 times you had this particular electricity company, you put it in as an electric bill. Can I do that again? You're like, yes, you may. And it makes your life a lot, it makes life a lot quicker.
So you have to be super careful with those predictive categorizations.
You do have to check them.
Especially when you have like two accounts transferring to each other.
Yeah, that gets confusing.
Yeah, because it can sometimes go in duplicates. I had a set of books that I just prepared for this tax season where there was a month, I don't know, probably 100 to 200 duplicate transactions.
Oh,
Where I was just like,
that,
whoa, because they were just using the predictive categorization. So I always tell people it's amazing and you should do it and set up the rules and everything, but look at it before you push it in,
oh, I never,
just to
yeah,
make sure.
QuickBooks Online in particular, I never just hit add
Yep.
because you don't, I've actually had heating oil come in as auto fuel and I had to fix that for people. I'm like, how are you spending this much on gas for the car? Oh, Santa
Yeah,
Fuel is an oil company. Okay, never mind. And we fix it. So, and it's those little
exactly.
things that, and Amazon, oh my gosh, I sometimes dread seeing Amazon come through because I don't know what it's going to be. This goes back to I need your receipts.
Yep.
Because if it's Amazon, it could be anything.
It's true.
It could literally be anything. I remember the days when Amazon was just books, and it was very exciting when they had CDs. Now it is literally A to Z, everything. So
Yeah. I mean, I think that's another big tip that when you're starting a business, get into the habit of providing all of the information to the people that you work with, especially if you're working with them on a financial level. If you're working with a bookkeeper or a virtual CFO, always give them as much information as you can. So write down all of your credit cards and bank accounts and loans and investors, even if it's just on a piece of paper or a whiteboard or whatever that you can take a picture of, but know that stuff. If you bought equipment,
oh, that's
know which
huge because
equipment.
because you have to account in the books for when you get equipment, it's not as bad as driving a car off the lot and it loses 30% of its value, but they lose their usefulness over time. And that is accounted for in your taxes every year. So you can deduct that and pay less, and you can pay less taxes because it's an expense.
Exactly.
And this is something that I don't prepare taxes for my clients, but I work with the CPAs and I work with the tax prep guys. The minute I see an asset coming in, I contact them. All right, you got to tell me what you want to put in as a useful life. How do you want to do the depreciation? Because there's several different methods, thanks to all the gajillion and 5 tax code laws we have now. So that I can set it up so that it runs that depreciation expense once a month. And it's done. At the end of the year, I can just say, here, tax CPA, this is yours. Same thing with, anytime there's an unusual expense, I contact them. So all of these things are important for us to know. I mean,
Yeah.
I work with an insurance agency and they receive checks coming in from carriers. Sometimes those are commission checks. Sometimes those are refunds that have to go to the client. I don't know when I just see the check because the carriers aren't very forthcoming with everything that's on the check. I mean, it's a perfectly good check, but it's not like they're not like we are, where we write everything in that little memo section.
Right.
I just say, all right, who is this? What is this? I have no idea because again, money coming in is not always going to be revenue. It might be money owed to somebody else.
Yeah.
So the more you can talk, the more information you have. If you're going to be the bookkeeper, congratulations, write down everything.
Yes.
A dedicated notebook if you want to do old school. Get something like OneNote or get a spreadsheet to write everything down. If you do everything by email, create a dedicated folder in your email box so that you know where all of your receipts are. But information is the key to getting this done, because once you have that information, you can aggregate everything and make it useful for you.
Yes.
But unless we have that, we literally cannot get usable reports if we don't have good data to fill it with.
Exactly. So we are nearing the 1 hour mark. It's been amazing speaking with you. If the audience wants to reach out to you, how do they get in touch?
Sorry, I was going to put in the chat box. You can reach me at jacook@sunstonebookkeeping.com.
Okay.
And I am on Facebook with Sunstone Bookkeeping. And my website is right here as well.
Sunstonebookkeeping.com.
And there is my phone number if anybody wants to call or text. And if anybody has any questions, I'll answer those as well.
Awesome. I'll put everything in the comments on this video. That way, if you're watching it now or if you're watching it on the replay and you want to reach out to Jeri Ann and get any more tips from her, or maybe look into bookkeeping, or you want to get some advice on starting a pet business or any business, really, you can reach out to her. And as always, I'm here for you as well. If you want to reach out, you can follow me on Instagram, financial_sharktress. My Facebook page is Financial Sharktress Galit Sadiq. These videos are now being uploaded to YouTube, so subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I have something pretty exciting coming out, starting another round of the Inner Shark Tribe, which is a 9-week group coaching program. And I'm going to put all the information in the comments. If you, because of COVID and everything that's happened, and I understand that people are stressed out a little bit financially, if you sign up in the month of July, you are getting a 75% off promo code. So I'm going to put that in the comments as well. And hopefully you will all become inner sharks and learn how to handle your money and learn a little bit more about the money mindset that's going to take you to the next level. So have an amazing Money Monday. Thank you so much, Jeri Ann, for coming on. This was so good. And I feel like we got in a lot of information.
I hope people can take this and help grow their new businesses as strong as possible.